On August 6, 1945, the United States launched a rather unusual air raid on Hiroshima, Japan. Instead of hitting the city with hundreds of bombs, the U.S. Army Air Corps dropped only a single bomb. The ensuing explosion was larger than anyone had ever seen. It was the result of 6 years of research at project sites across the U.S. It was a top secret project. The military knew the creation of such a weapon would quickly end the war and needed to make sure the Allied powers got their hands on it before the Axis. Led by Leslie Groves and Robert Oppenheimer, the Manhattan Project was started in 1939 with the goal of creating a massively powerful bomb for use by the American military in World War II. The Manhattan Project shattered a barrier in warfare by creating a single bomb whose power was comparable to that of an entire air raid. This new weapon was so powerful, it permanently redefined the concept of a bomb for both military personnel and civilian society. That is the lasting impact of the Manhattan Project. This map shows the damage from the atomic strike on Hiroshima. The dark area in the center was completely demolished, and the white ring around it shows the outer limits of the destruction. This is a picture of the Trinity Test explosion just outside Alamogordo, New Mexico. It's hard to grasp the size of the explosion from just the picture alone. This telegraph was sent from Leslie Harrison to Secretary of War Henry Stimson to communicate the results of the test. Stimson claims that both the roar and flash of the explosion were noticeable from hundreds of miles away. Upon seeing the explosion, Leslie Groves made this remark: "The war's over. One or two of those things, and Japan will be finished." Their extreme power made dropping the bombs on Japan a difficult ethical decision for President Truman. From his speaker's notes for the next gridiron dinner, "You know, the most terrible decision a man ever had to make was made by me at Potsdam. It had nothing to do with Russia or Britain or Germany. It was a decision to loose the most terrible of destructive forces for the wholesale slaughter of human beings. It occurred to me that 250,000 of the flower of our young manhood was worth a couple of Japanese cities, and I still think that they were and are. But I couldn't help but think of the necessity of blotting out women and children and non-combatants." In addition to its immediate effect on the war, the project led to a transition in how the military developed weapons and how it fought wars. This excerpt from a letter to the president of the National Academy of Sciences demonstrates that the Manhattan Project wasn't just about building atomic bombs. While building the bomb was its primary focus, the technologies developed for the project were also used to create other military products. The National Academy of Sciences Committee on Atomic Fission suggested using uranium to create radioactive missiles and nuclear-powered submarines. Scientists thought broadly about uses for nuclear fission. Creating a bomb was the obvious application, but they wanted to know what else could be built. Sure enough, atomic research from the Manhattan Project would be used for the creation of a nuclear-powered submarine after the war ended. The first nuclear submarine, the USS Nautilus, launched in 1954. The atomic bomb, naturally, inspired the creation of even bigger nuclear weapons, such as the hydrogen bomb. The development of such weapons ended up being a key component of the Cold War. In addition to breaking military barriers, the Manhattan Project helped break barriers for civilians. Just a few years after the Nautilus launched, nuclear energy began powering our homes. The The new energy source produced far fewer carbon emissions than fossil fuels, but it also left behind nuclear waste. Atomic research affected the medical industry by leading to improvements in cancer treatments, diagnostic tests, and our general understanding of biology. Furthermore, utilizing any of these improvements required new workers, which means atomic research led to the continuous creation of new jobs and economic development years after World War II ended. The Manhattan Project broke barriers by creating a bomb bigger than any that had come before it. It paved the way for the creation of bigger bombs and the breaking of bigger barriers, and its research was used outside the military to break other barriers, such as the development of cleaner energy. That is the lasting impact of the Manhattan Project.